To Somalia now, where a new mission supporting the country's fight against the insurgent group Al-Shabaab is set to begin today. The African Union's Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia will be succeeding the AU Transition Mission in Somalia, whose mandate ended on December the 31st last year. CGTN's Nick Mudimba sat down with an expert to talk about the new mission.
So when AMISOM was established, the primary mandate was essentially to provide support to the fledgling Somali government. It was a transitional government at that time. And this was the context of an Ethiopian invasion of Somalia and the rise of al-Shabaab. And so it was a very insecure environment. And so the idea was to facilitate the exit of Ethiopian troops by providing an international backed security force. Initially, the idea was this would be a UN force. The conditions proved too dangerous for that. It wound up being an African Union-led force in any case. And so that was the idea, to provide basically an enabling environment for the Somali government itself then to get on its feet, to secure the area and be able to grow. So the change from AMISOM to ATMIS was more predicated on this idea that there needed to be a new mission to show transition more than anything. So around the end of the 2010s period, the EU began reducing some of its financial support for the mission. And at the same time, there was a growth in ambition, we can say, from the Somali government side to basically take over full security responsibility. And so those two factors came together, this perennial question about funding, how is this mission funded, and this idea that the transition needs to be happening. There needs to be this strategy to increase the Somali security force capability in order to take over. I mean, the mandate has remained essentially very similar. It is providing support to the Somali government, essentially providing space and time for it to increase its own capabilities and prepare itself to take over full security responsibility of the country. Now, over time, of course, there have been some adjustments. The organization, AMISOM was very much based in Mogadishu initially, was fighting back for territory in Mogadishu. Over time, extended that through other parts of the country. And around the middle of 2010s, around 2015-16, it became a bit more settled, we can say, in its posture. It wasn't as offensive. But of course, it's added other elements over time: humanitarian protection, protection of diplomatic missions as well, or diplomatic engagements. And so, there have been some small adjustments, but the core dynamic, the core reason of why AMISOM has been in the country and the missions after AMISOM as well has been the same. It has been to provide that space for the Somali government to basically then establish itself. So I think AMISOM, and if we take that as kind of also AMISOM, ATMIS, and AUSSMI, the three different missions, the AU through AMISOM as a whole has achieved a great deal of success in Somalia. I would argue the space that is currently there in Somalia is almost due to the AU's presence, especially in South Central Somalia, the space they've carved out back from al-Shabaab. So in terms of their primary objective, creating that space, I think they have achieved a great deal of success there. However, the mission's also become a bit more dormant over time and less active. And I think that's one reason why this spurred the discussion, especially around 2016 onwards, about transition. Because that, is creating the space as the first part, transitioning is the second part of that. And that's where things have fallen short.